Okay, everybody, this is going to be my best attempt to wrap everything up in one video. I'm going to put a link to Dr. Wang, who I actually like very much. He's a bariatric surgeon. He specializes in surgeries for obesity. Obviously, he knows a heck of a lot about the consequences of obesity. He's been doing COVID updates for as long as I've been doing my challenges, since back in the middle of March. I actually like the guy a lot, but the video that I linked, I am going to debate with him now. And it's not a matter of how he presents the information or whether or not the information is true or false. He actually brings everything up mathematically. However, there are some issues here with his math, and that's not even what I'm going to get into. But let's just take everything he's saying at face value. And what he's basically making the point is that the death rate of COVID is still 20%. Now, I can debate that all day, and because he's not including a whole bunch of things here that we now know. He brings them up, he downplays them. What he doesn't include are all of the people that are asymptomatic, right? So these are people that in fact have the virus but have no symptoms whatsoever. We don't know if that's 50%, if that's 80% of the population, we don't know. But a conservative guess is that it's at least half that have gotten the virus and are asymptomatic. You have to include those in the numbers. But the bottom line is, even if you listen to everything he said, and as much as he downplays the things like the coding in the hospitals, people dying of heart disease, but it's going down as a COVID death. He downplays that. That's fine. Let's just believe everything he says. Here's what I want you to know. And people that are speaking this way and continue to speak this way, here's the analogy I'm going to draw. I happened to listen to Shannon Sharpe talking to Skip Bayless this morning, talking about the Colin Kaepernick situation. It has nothing to do with what side you're on the Colin Kaepernick situation. They're actually responding to George Floyd, who just died, another death from police brutality. And I want you to hear what Shannon Sharpe says for 30 seconds here, and I'm going to bring it right back to COVID. So listen carefully to what Shannon is saying.
What happened when Colin Kaepernick kneeled for the very first time, the narrative got shifted. Even though he told you why he was doing it, in order for you to frame it so you can turn the masses against Cap, you said he was disrespecting the military. You said he was disrespecting our veterans. He was disrespecting the flag. Get up so we can hear you. He stood up and you still didn't want to hear him because...
All right. The narrative got shifted. In other words, you missed the whole point. It doesn't matter if you agree with what Colin Kaepernick did or not. That's not what this is about. Shannon's point is you missed the point. You missed it. You missed the point. So let me tell you. Here's what we know with COVID, okay? And just listen up. We know that it affects obesity, right? We know obesity is the largest risk factor. We know that age is a risk factor. We know that gender, we know that men are more likely to succumb to COVID. We know that the darker the skin is a problem. And we already talked about why that is. It's specific to vitamin D, which we'll get back to in a moment. It seems to be at least mostly linked to vitamin D, which we've talked about. Comorbidities, which is obviously a whole umbrella of things, but one of the things that we talked most about is type 2 diabetes, which a large portion of this population is type 2 diabetic. Now, there may be genetic factors, there may be blood type protection. If you're type O, there seems to be, at least as of last week, there seems to be something with blood type O. There's speculation there. Doesn't matter. The point is that we do know certain things. But if that's what you're paying attention to, if you're paying attention to the therapies, the remdesivir, and these other drugs that are out there, you're still missing the point. Here is the point. The point is, the real message is, the thing that isn't being heard is what's been up here. So listen, here's what you can do. Here's the real narrative. The real narrative is the benefits of exercise, the benefits of breathing, the benefits of sunlight, the benefits of red light therapy, the benefits of hot and cold therapy. That means that you get your body really, really hot in a hot shower, or you get into a really, really cold bath, or you do both. You get into a hot bath and then get into a cold shower, all of which well-studied, well-founded research on MedCram that I've shared with you guys. Sleep at least 8 hours. And how do you sleep for 8 hours? We talked about how you get your 8 hours of sleep and its effect on the immune system. It is perhaps the one thing that's most important to protecting your immune system. We talked about meditation and its benefits for your parasympathetic nervous system, which is your rest. What did we just talk about with sleep? Rest and what? Digest. One of the biggest problems in this country is digestion. And if you go back to the very first video I did on the very first day, I break down why our digestion is so poor, why stomach acid sucks, why everybody is on, Pepsid and acids, Tums and all this stuff. It is one of the worst things you can continue to do to your body for all of the reasons I laid out in many, many videos, not just that video. We talked about supplements. We talked about vitamin A, vitamin C, vitamin D. We talked about zinc, copper, and selenium and how important they are for your immune system. We talked about mitochondrial health and oxidative stress in great detail. And when it came to mitochondrial health, we talked about certain supplements, including D-ribose, magnesium, and ubiquinol. We talked about phytoncides from being outside, forest bathing, literally walking in the forest, that these increase natural killer cells. I talked about how you can use phytoncides right in your air diffuser, right? So if you have a diffuser, you can just put the essential oil in there, let it run while you do your breathing work in the morning. What are some of the benefits to breathing work? Well, how about nitric oxide production? How about parasympathetic nervous system through the vagal nerve? We do humming, we do specific breathing work that automatically maps onto what we know is beneficial for vasodilation and for vagal nerve tone, which is super important for your digestion. I haven't even touched yet, though, the most important thing, which is your diet, right? We talked about increasing your fiber, reducing your sugar, getting a variety of proteins, making sure you're eating your fruits and vegetables in different colors. We talked about what happens if you don't reduce that sugar. We talked about what happens if you don't increase that fiber. We talked about what happens if you continue to drink alcohol, and that one of the major predictors of whether or not you're going to live or die is ALT levels, which are liver enzymes. And if you want to maximize your ALT levels, if you want to really make sure that your liver goes to hell, make sure you keep on drinking alcohol. So the point is, guys, that's the real narrative. And somehow we have switched the narrative from that to teach me everything possible about how I should exercise, teach me about HIIT training, teach me about strength training, teach me about technique, teach me about how I should be breathing when I exercise, teach me about how I should move. We switched the narrative from the breath work that we've been doing in the morning, right, through the nose, how important it is to breathe through the nose, that when you sleep at night, if you breathe with your mouth open, you need to tape your mouth shut and put a breathe right strip on your nose. Why? Does that sound crazy? Well, just do your research on how many people die of heart disease that also have sleep apnea. That is happening because they're breathing through their mouth. You need to breathe through your nose, keep your mouth shut in order to create more nitric oxide, which is a vasodilator. Okay, people are dying from COVID-19 because it's a vasoconstrictor. So you need nitric oxide. That's why nitric oxide is one of the many forms of treatment that has shown incredible promise in treating this disease. But your body's meant to make it through your parasinuses mostly. It makes it in other ways. My point is that if you're breathing through your mouth, you are not anatomically created to breathe through your mouth. It's to be done through your nose, and that is how you maximize nitric oxide production. How about getting out into the sunlight, not just for the benefits of vitamin D, but also for the benefits of light in general, including red light, as well as increasing nitric oxide production, increasing heat in the body for reasons I just talked about earlier, meaning the hot and the cold therapy. What does a body do when it gets sick? It raises its temperature. This process of getting into heat and getting into cold works via the hormetic response, the same way that exercise works during using the hormetic response, meaning we have to make ourselves tough. Okay, how do you make yourself tough? You expose yourself to hard exercise, heat, You do things to the body that make it hard, and then you recover. It's not forever. You don't work out for 7 hours. You don't go into the heat for 14 hours. You do a little bit and then back down, a little bit more, back down. And you find the zone in which you continue to improve. And this works in everything, guys, in almost everything. When it comes to sleep, and if you have insomnia, we talked about certain supplements. We talked about making sure the room is dark. We talked about melatonin and serotonin and how light affects melatonin. We just gave you practical information. And why not sleep with your air diffuser on, with the phytoncides in the room at the same time, raising your natural killer cells while you sleep? I mean, what could be easier? That was talked about in the MedCreme video as well. How about just taking your supplements, making sure that you have enough vitamin A, C, and D, making sure that you're taking your zinc and your copper and your selenium, making sure that you maximize mitochondrial health by drinking some D-ribose in your water bottle, about 5 grams. Just drink it in through your water bottle, along with your magnesium at night, along with your ubiquinol throughout the day. We talked about, again, the effects of sugar and alcohol, and making sure that you vary your diet in proteins and carbs and fats, good forms of fats. Guys, this is the real narrative. It's the real narrative. We're losing focus. I'm getting nuts hearing the nonsense. We're walking, right? There's this meme going around, right? It says, why should I wear a mask for you if you can't even eat healthy for yourself? And that's the truth. Okay, we have to flip this narrative, man. We're missing the point. The Colin Kaepernick thing is an amazing example, right? You watch something, you hear what you think you hear, you're watching what you think you're watching, but at the same time, you miss the whole point. Because guess what? This dude, George Floyd, he's dead now too, for the exact point that Colin Kaepernick was trying to make a point about. Now, you can argue that he was wrong for doing that, and that's fine. I wouldn't agree with you. I wouldn't disagree with you. My point is that you're missing the point. And at least he stood up to say something. But guys, it's time for all of us to stand up and go, come on now, man. You. Start with your own family, start with yourself, and say, it's time to step up to the plate, learn something, implement these things. Because you know what? More than half of this stuff is just easy. It's super easy. Like, you don't have to be like, oh, you know what? I'm going on a 4-day fast, or I got to go hike up this mountain. No, man. How hard is it to implement your supplements? How hard is it to finish your hot bath with a cold shower? How hard is it to get out into the sunlight? How hard is it to tape your mouth shut if you're a mouth breather at night? How hard is it to make 5 minutes to do some breath work in the morning? How hard is it to recognize if you're breathing through your mouth throughout the day to close your mouth, or tell your kid, close your mouth? How hard is it to get the Halloween candy out of the drawer? How hard is it to start setting ourselves up for success so we can move forward? I'll say it one more time. If you believe that this is the last time we're going to see something like this, guys, wave 2 is coming. I promise you that. I'll just be saying the same stuff over and over again, but I'll be even more pissed off than I am now. But I will tell you this. It's not the last time we're going to see a virus like this. Not in your lifetime, and certainly not in your kid's lifetime. Because guess what? It'll probably be worse next time. Might as well learn it now, everybody. Really learn it. Because if you still don't get it, go back, listen. And if you get confused, pause, take notes, because all the information has been up there and has been up there for a long time, okay? I'm saying this with a sense of urgency because I care, but I'm also sick and tired of what I keep seeing out there and the narrative I keep hearing, including this Dr. Vong, who I actually really like listening to him. But the message he should be preaching shouldn't be what the COVID-19 death rate actually is, when in fact, he's not doing a very good job reflecting what it actually is. Because he's not including who? The asymptomatic people. We should be worried way more about, hey, let's study the asymptomatic people. Guess what they are? It's not just a matter of the fact that they're not obese. It's not just a matter of the fact that they're not 80 years old. They happen to be doing certain things religiously in their life that keep them healthy. Now, guys, if you're 80 years old, if you're morbidly obese, if you have certain comorbidities, you should take caution. But everybody else, come on now. It's time to get back to work.